Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report, today for January the 23rd of 2020. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news that you need to know from around the industry, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, right here on YouTube and podcast services around the world. So if you enjoy the show, you like what you see, be sure to hit that subscribe button and keep coming back for more. But today we are focusing on id Software's executive producer coming out and saying that the team crunched most of last year to hit the delayed Doom Eternal date. We will talk more about what that means for the gaming industry as a whole and about management, because that's really what it comes down to. I have some thoughts on this subject. On top of that, we're talking about a Silent Hill reboot that could be in the works, Modern Warfare's big microtransaction gamble paying off, Rocket League losing Mac and Linux support, and so much more. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. First off, id Software crunched most of last year to hit the delayed Doom Eternal date. Quote, "We really truly do try and be very respectful of people's time and lives," end quote. Doom Eternal staff, quote, "We're crunching pretty hard most of last year to hit the game's original November 2019 launch date. Quake and Wolfenstein developer id Software eventually pushed Doom Eternal back to the 20th of March 2020, a delay of 4 months. It goes in phases," executive producer Marty Stratton told VG247 of last year's Overtime. "We'll have one group of people crunching so the next group of people are teed up properly. As they get done, they may need to crunch a little bit. We truly do try and be very respectful of people's times and lives. We have very dedicated people that just choose to work a lot in many cases. It was nice because we want the game to be perfect. We want it to live up to our expectations and consumer expectations," end quote. Doom Eternal was complete by the time its delay was announced, just 6 weeks before it was due to hit shop shelves. The interviewing period has instead allowed id to fix a ton of more bugs and polish the game after testing found balance issues and exploits. And surely more time means less need to crunch? Well, quote, "A delay takes a little bit of the steam and pressure out," Stratton concluded, "but it's almost one of those things where we'll push it even harder to get even more just as tight as it possibly can be," end quote. It feels a similar situation to the recently delayed Cyberpunk 2077, whose developer CD Projekt Red admitted the extra 5 months of time it now had would be used to continue crunch to some degree. Of course, we didn't talk about this on the show last week, but it was in the news. Crunch is something unfortunately endemic in big budget game development throughout the industry, and it comes with a very real human cost. And of course, for more on the game, Digital Foundry's John Linman recently took a look at some of Doom Eternal's new tech, and of course, we've been talking about it all week because it has been the talk of the town as the previews have hit the internet and people are enjoying the game very, very much. Now, with that being said, let's talk about crunch, because a lot of people have been chiming in, and I want to come right out of the gate and say I have no authority to talk about crunch in the gaming industry whatsoever, because I'm not in the gaming industry. Of course, you could say that I am because I do this podcast, but I'm not in there, in the trenches, developing games, putting the hours in. That's not me, so I really shouldn't be giving any kind of input on this, and really, when it comes down to it, outside of developers, neither should anyone else. Somebody tell Twitter, because they should know that. But I do want to give my 2 cents that the element of crunch that is present in a lot of businesses, not even necessarily in the gaming industry, is all completely and totally due to mismanagement. That is really what crunch comes down to. If a project is planned out appropriately, then there should be no need to have any kind of crunch. You should be able to maintain a 40-hour work week and get it done. Now, would that date be pushed out further at the beginning of the project? Absolutely, but that's just the nature of the beast. If it takes that amount of time, then it takes that amount of time. What happens, in my hypothesis, within the gaming industry is that there is an original scope laid out with the release date pinned at the end. But as new ideas are explored, as more elements are added, as bugs are approached, and as bugs do come to the surface, then that date begins to get a little bit closer with a lot more work to be done, and therefore you result in not only delays, but also crunch leading up to the original date and the new delay. Plus, if you are in the gaming industry, you have a passion for creating experiences for people around the world to enjoy. And so, as they say in this article, even though you do have months of additional time, if the game is done, you will continue to work, you will continue to polish because you want that final product to be the best that it can possibly be. So with all of that being said, crunch is still a huge element within the gaming industry, and largely, in my opinion, it's due to a lot of mismanagement, but it's not necessarily the fault of anybody, because everybody wants to make the best experience, crunch or no crunch. Not saying it's right, I'm just saying that's the nature of the industry, and that should totally change as time goes on, but I highly doubt that it will. Now, that being said, moving on to the next topic of today's show, a rumor has been going around that a Silent Hill reboot is in the works alongside a Telltale-Style game, with 2 individual games planned. Ignoring the PlayStation 5 rumors for a few seconds, we don't think they say it pushed square. We've come across a leak we've wanted to be true more than this one. According to a very reliable Resident Evil leaker, Konami has plans to bring back the Silent Hill franchise with a soft reboot and another title to accompany it, which draws inspiration from Telltale's episodic efforts and Until Dawn. Tweeted out by Aesthetic Gamer on Twitter and reported on by Rely on Horror, the leaker claims that the Japanese publisher reached out to numerous developers roughly 2 years ago in search of a pitch of ideas for the series. One is designed to be, quote, a soft reboot of the franchise, the other an episodic Telltale Until Dawn style game to go alongside the reboot, end quote. Now, we implore you not to take these tweets as gospel, but the Twitter account in question has been known to leak very reliable information in the past. Aesthetic Gamer revealed the existence of RE3 all the way back in December 2018. Again, let me repeat, 2018, and stated just 3 months later that the remake is coming a lot sooner than people think and is not developed by Capcom's Division 1 team. All 3 of these key details have proven to be true upon the game's announcement, but of course, Resident Evil and Silent Hill are 2 different franchises developed by 2 different studios. It's clear that the leaker in question certainly has some credibility, although we would not suggest you get too hyped up just yet. They claim that there's a high chance at least one of these projects will be announced this year, and by our own reckoning, it'll most likely be for PlayStation 5. So do you hope Silent Hill returns? Sure, why not? In my personal opinion. Now, Silent Hill is a very interesting game and a very interesting place in time, because the last time we heard anything about Silent Hill was the playable teaser, the big Kojima and Konami project. Actually, that's a pretty good little, it's kind of like Brad and Angelina Jolie. It's kind of like that thing, but with Konami and Kojima. But they split up in a horrible divorce. However, that's all, history. The last time we saw anything Silent Hills related was that playable teaser, and that was going to turn into a full game. Unfortunately, it did not. Unfortunately, we saw the fallout, and what resulted was Konami beginning to decline, Kojima Productions being born, and now we have Death Stranding. That's basically its history. But Silent Hill still has a lot of value in the horror game space, and I think a soft reboot could definitely do the franchise well. Now, the big question here is, what's this timeline looking like? Is it something that's coming soon? Is it something that's coming later? Personally, I don't think this is going to be a launch PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X title, but I think that it could very well be a next-gen exclusive, because going forward, games that have already not been announced probably are not going to be coming to the PlayStation 4 unless they are first-party Microsoft games, because those have been confirmed to bridge the generations. So we could be seeing some kind of Silent Hill reboot in the works coming soon to a console near you, or at least a console that plans to be near you in the coming months and years as the new generation does take hold. But again, Aesthetic Gamer says Silent Hill reboot is in the works with 2 different games, one being a bit of a Telltale-style game, which kind of makes sense because there's so much story to tell in the world of Silent Hill. Now, moving on, Modern Warfare's new business model generated more revenue during its first quarter than Black Ops 4. Game development can generate lucrative business if done right. After all, the games industry is the most profitable form of media, making more than the film and music industries combined over the last decade. Recently, Call of Duty publisher Activision explored a new business model with its most recent game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It ditched its in-game monetization that previously featured random loot boxes, purchasable map packs, and season passes that divided the player base for a more all-inclusive approach, mirroring Fortnite's Battle Pass system where players purchase a track to earn cosmetic rewards as they play through a season. This new business model paid off, earning the company 4% more revenue during its launch quarter than the previous year's Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Modern Warfare's new business model is much more transparent than before, giving you a clear indication as to what your hard-earned real-world money will get you. In previous Call of Duty games, you'd have the ability to purchase chests that contained random items with varying degrees of rarity. It also split its player base by offering map packs for a price, which has been remedied in Modern Warfare with all new maps made available to players through free updates. The old model received criticism from fans, prompting a change with 2019's entry. An editor's note says the change also came along with a general shift in how games have been handling monetization. Though it was a bit of a risk to implement such a substantial change, the 4% revenue increase shows it was a positive change for the series. Players spent a total of $78.7 million in Modern Warfare during December 2019 alone. The first month in-game spending was made available. For comparison, the in-game revenue generated by Black Ops 4's entire first quarter totaled to $92.9 million. Modern Warfare was also 2019's best-selling game and was the highest-earning console game of December 2019, even making more than Fortnite. It's unclear if this business model will continue with 2020's as yet announced Call of Duty, but given its success and the general shift in the gaming industry, it would not be surprising to see it return. Of course, a new update has just rolled out as Modern Warfare's Season 1 is beginning to wrap up towards the beginning of February, and that includes the crossbow, which I am very excited to dive in and get, but this shows a lot about where the gaming industry is right now. For those that are not familiar with these age-old Call of Duties, the traditional approach has been to have a season pass or individual map packs to release new content to keep the game fresh for people that chose to invest more in it. Now, the new approach has been basically to give all of that content away for free, and instead they have the Battle Pass system, which generally costs about $10. It lasts for between 2 and 3 months, and you get access to in-game cosmetics, double XP, general boosts that benefit your gameplay and make the game overall a little bit more enjoyable. It's not required, it's not limiting whatsoever, but it's something you could buy if you wanted to buy it. Now, I bought it because I love Modern Warfare. It's one of the best Call of Duties in years, and I think that the quality of the game combined with the accessibility of the Game Pass system, the Battle Pass system, makes this a match made in heaven. And I think it does go to show that the Season Pass model, where you buy a $60 game and then you buy a $50 to $60 Season Pass, is dead and gone. Because over the long haul, let's say that this game has a lifespan of 2 years, you are going to be getting double the money out of your clientele, your customers, if you do this Battle Pass system, depending on how long these seasons do last. Which, needless to say, sounds good for the investor's bottom line, and it makes people happy because they aren't forced to buy something. They can just support the team and buy the cosmetics if they would like. But all that considered, glad to see this is working out for the team over there at Activision and the team behind the scenes at Infinity Ward. Because some people hate Activision, I totally get it. They can be a very shitty company, but at the end of the day, it's a very player-focused business model that is paying off for both sides of the team. However, something that's strange, Rocket League has dropped Mac and Linux support. Oh man, this is not good. Rocket League developer Psyonix announced on Thursday that Rocket League developer Psyonix announced on Thursday that its Cars Playing Soccer game, that's one way to describe it, will no longer support Mac and Linux players as of March 2020. For players on those platforms, Psyonix will launch a final patch in March to disable all online features, including matchmaking. In an announcement posted to Steam, Psyonix said, quote, "As we continue to upgrade Rocket League with new technologies, it is no longer viable for us to maintain support for the macOS and Linux SteamOS platforms. As a result, the final patch for the macOS and Linux versions of the game will be in March. Once the update hits Rocket League in March, the game will only be playable while running on a Windows 7 machine or newer. For Mac players, Psyonix recommends but does not officially support using Apple's Boot Camp tool to simulate a Windows computer. For Linux players, it recommended the same process with the Proton app or Wine tool, although neither tool is supported directly by Psyonix. Psyonix announced a full feature list for the offline versions of Rocket League via its own support site, including all of this that you see here, which is pretty much local matches, split screen play, garage and inventory, career stats, replays, Steam Workshop maps must be downloaded before the final patch, along with custom training packs, which must also be downloaded before the final patch. Now, the stuff that is being lost is pretty much online matchmaking and everything that comes with the online connectivity, including Rocket Pass, item shop, in-game events, friends list, you name it, including matchmaking as well. Now, of course, the game is out on Linux, Mac, Nintendo Switch, PS4, PC, and Xbox One, but unfortunately, sacrifices have to be made. It's time to go. Now, this is something that I think comes with time, and it's the similar kind of situation that you're going to be seeing where certain servers are shut down because as we transition from the PlayStation 4 onto the PlayStation 5, it is no longer financially viable to support specific games and on top of that, invest in new projects. And so that's pretty much what's happening right now at Psyonix with the Linux and Mac support. Now, it has had a good run. Rocket League's been out for a hot minute, but as the game grows and evolves, I think that it is time to probably drop at least Mac and Linux support. Now, the console versions of the game doing incredibly well. Rocket League took off like a rocket, whenever it did launch a few years ago, and it has not stopped since. Has a very active competitive league on top of that. Still one of the most played games, fantastic running game on every platform, and I'm very impressed with what Psyonix has been able to do, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the future of the game looks like. However, Mac and Linux fans are not going to be so pleased with the newest, most recent announcement. But if you feel sad, maybe you want to go to Super Nintendo World, but that sucks because it's not opening until 2023 in Orlando. It's a little bit of, that's some time. It'll be a part of Universal Studios' Epic Universe theme park. The first Super Nintendo World theme park attraction is set to open at Universal Studios Japan this summer. There have been long plans to open up similar areas at Universal Studios locations in Hollywood and Orlando, but you will have to wait a while longer to explore the Mario-themed attractions stateside. NBC Universal parent company Comcast revealed in an earnings call that Super Nintendo World will be part of the Epic Universe theme park in Orlando. That is scheduled to open in 2023, and it's not yet clear whether Super Nintendo World will open then. In any case, it will be at least 3 years before it debuts in Florida. Executives did not offer too many details about Orlando's Super Nintendo World or the California version on Thursday's call, but it will surely ape the Osaka incarnation. That life-size living video game will include a real-life Mario Kart ride, another called Yoshi's Adventures, food outlets, merchandise, and of course, games. Comcast clearly has high hopes for the attraction. An executive described it as having potentially similar drawing power to the wizarding world of Harry Potter, which drove incremental attendance in our parks of about 2 million people. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of bathroom lines as well. But this is a cool idea. For those that have not seen the pictures that have leaked of the Japanese version of the Super Nintendo theme park, it looks very impressive. As a kid, I would have died and gone to heaven had I been able to stand beside a life-sized Yoshi, or potentially even ride around and play some Mario Kart in real life. But it's just kind of mind-boggling that it's taken this long for a theme park to come into the real world. I cannot believe that it's been so many years since Mario has been a worldwide sensation, and yet we've just now been getting into the world of Super Nintendo. Okay, sure. But regardless, it looks like 2023 is going to be the earliest launch you'll be seeing for Super Nintendo World, again coming to Florida and hypothetically California as well. But we will just have to wait and see exactly what NBC Universal has planned whenever they do iron out the plans and figure out where they want to put, when they want to put it, at least when they want to put Super Mario World. But Nioh 2 has a brand new gloomy trailer, and they're still waiting on news of a PC port over here at PC Gamer, but they reported on it anyway. So the original story is as follows. Nioh publisher Koei Tecmo recently announced that a brand new Nioh 2 trailer will premiere on January 23rd, 2020, and lo and behold, the trailer is out now, so give it a watch above. 16th Century Japan does not look too cheery, but you will have plenty of duels to take your mind off of the misery and madness of endless war. Hopefully we'll get news about a PC port after it launches on PS4 in March. Now this is a very good looking trailer. I am very impressed with what I'm seeing so far, but the main thing here is that it continues the aesthetic of the original Nioh. Not too much gameplay is shown off. Of course, this is in-engine stuff. This is what you are going to be seeing in the game. But overwhelmingly, it has the same look, it has the same aesthetic, and it has a very, very cool vibe. So I'm looking forward to it. I just wanted to let you know that a brand new Nioh trailer is out now. Now, the big question for me is, how are these games going to be treated? Because Ghost of Tsushima and Nioh 2, although they are very different games, just judging by the look of the gameplay themselves, or itself, or however you want to say it, they have a similar kind of aesthetic and they have a similar kind of vibe. So it's going to be very hard for the general consumer to differentiate these two. I'm sure that the impact of Ghost of Tsushima will reflect on the Nioh 2 sales, especially at launch, depending on when the game is coming out. Again, I suppose the game is coming out on March the 13th, so Ghost of Tsushima should be coming out around July or September. Release date. So it just says 2020 right now. So it looks like they could be okay. They could not impact each other. But I still feel like in the long run, there's going to be a lot of one rising above the other one. But Nioh 2 should be fine. The original game has plenty of name recognition, plus it was given away for free as part of a PlayStation Plus promotion. So plenty of people have been able to get their hands on the newest Nioh game, or I should say the only Nioh game at this point. But Team Ninja has a fantastic IP on their hands. I have faith that they will treat it well and treat it with the respect that it does deserve. But man, if you're a fan of absolutely brutal Souls-style combat, this should be one to look forward to. Now, a report did come out that said they're going to be lowering the difficulty of this game, so keep that in mind. It might not be as brutal as the original game was, but that might not necessarily be a bad thing either. You could be seeing a lot of people appreciate that, especially those like myself that are just absolutely horrible at this kind of game and get frustrated very, very quickly. But between Sekiro, Nioh, and Ghost of Tsushima, we've got plenty of feudal Japan coming our way, or at least that kind of setting, in the next couple of months. However, the final topic of the day, Housemarque has put Stormdivers on ice in favor of a brand new project. Given the ferocity of a competition in the genre, this probably doesn't come as much of a surprise, but another battle royale has bitten the dust, and this time it is Housemarque's Stormdivers. In a 25th anniversary post, the Finnish developer, known for arcade titles Nex Machina, Resogun, and Super Stardust, explained it's now working on its most ambitious and biggest game to date, and as a result, all of the projects are being put on hold. It seems the unannounced title has been in progress for some time, 3 years in fact, and has a team of nearly 80 people working on it. Quote, "It is great that the whole company can come together to deliver this game, which will define the next evolution of Housemarque," says the post. Now we are in full-scale production and super excited to reveal more in the coming months. Stormdivers was initially planned to launch on PC sometime in 2019, a deadline it clearly did not make, despite progressing to beta test. As it's been placed on indefinite hiatus, there is no knowing when, if ever, it will be released. It's something the dev clearly saw coming, however, with CEO Ilari Kutinin, ooh, that's a name right there, telling VG247 the game was unlikely to succeed due to competition from titles such as Apex Legends. At least it looked a lot better than Radical Heights. Perhaps there's a chance Stormdivers could be resurrected in the future or transformed into something else, as Fortnite's Battle Royale mode was created from Save the World, for instance. But for now, we will just have to wait and see more details on that new project. So, number one, right out of the gate, I love Housemarque. They make some fantastic, phenomenal games. Nex Machina, wonderful. Resogun, still one of the best games on the PlayStation 4 all these years later. It is a company that is well ahead of its time, in my opinion. Some of the best design that I've ever seen. Now, that being considered, I'm excited to see what their future looks like, because this sounds like something that might be a little bit more than a Resogun, definitely more than a Nex Machina. I cannot wait to see what they have been working on. And 3 years is a long time, but that timeline. So was this project being worked on during Stormdivers? Then it came out that Stormdivers probably wouldn't sell that well because Battle Royale is beginning to fade. On top of that, you already have leading games like Apex Legends, like Fortnite, so they chose to reallocate those resources and focus more on the other project that seemed to be more promising. I think that's what's happening here, but we have no release date as of right now, no real information, but it looks like this little ditty, Stormdivers, not going to be hitting anytime soon. Not necessarily the worst thing either. I think that it's going to be A-okay. However, I was kind of interested in this one because it seemed to be something that Housemarque had never done before. But needless to say, the new game, it's never been done before either. So if you were wondering when this game, Stormdivers, was going to be launching, looks like that one's on ice, and a new one is on the way with a brand new title from Housemarque coming to consoles and PCs near you. Presumably, it could be coming to PC. We know nothing. we know nothing. However, that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed this one, be sure to drop me a like down below. And if you are brand new to the show, it is hosted 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, right here on YouTube and podcast services around the world. So if you enjoy it, click that subscribe button, and I will be back tomorrow to fill you in on the hottest news of the day before the weekend finally hits. Until then, you guys have a fantastic day, and peace.